The xTool F2 slide extension looks simple on the surface, but if you actually try to use it properly, there are a few things that are not immediately obvious. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to actually use it properly from start all the way to finish. This is not a quick overview. This is a full detailed guide where I'm going to walk you through every single processing mode. I'm going to show you real examples and also highlight some of the quirks, limitations, and things I only figured out through actually testing it properly, including a few things that will save you a lot of time if you get them right. We'll cover how to set it up, how to use slide extension mode for full length engravings, how to use same design batch processing for repeat jobs, and how to use different design batch processing with variable data, and most importantly, the real world results, issues, and tips that will actually save you time. So if you've just bought one or you're thinking about getting one, this should give you everything you need to know. Let's get into it. So let's take a look inside. I have had this slide extension since I purchased my F1 nearly 2 years ago now. So what I will say is yours may look slightly different if you bought it recently, but it will be the same. Within your box, you will find the slide extension, which we're going to remove first. Then there are a number of accessories scattered around. I am actually missing one piece, which is a ruler piece. You will have that. I don't have it, but the rest of it should look like that. It comes with different types of mounting brackets, as you can see right there. There is also a ruler piece, which I don't have, which you will have. Comes with a screwdriver, which we will need, so keep that safe, and then a cable, and that is it. Nice and simple, really, not too much to manage. For today's demonstration, I am going to be using this type here. If you want to know what the other ones are or how to use them, just check out the user manual. One thing to note is this extension rail is approximately just over 17 inches or 440 millimeters in length, so you are going to need an element of workspace. And what I will say is, as you can see, it also travels quite a large distance either side, so you will need a good space to be able to use this. In terms of fitment, I want to draw your attention to the lines at the end of your build plate here. These are going to be used for alignment. There is a section cut out of the bottom of the slide extension, and you want the xTool logo facing to the front, and then all you want to do is position it over the end of the F2's base plate, and we want to pay attention to the lines here. They are the third line from the front. What we want to do is roughly line up the edge of the extension slide with those lines, and once that's in the position, push the slide all the way to the end, and you will see, if I zoom in right here, there is a screw there. Keep screwing and it will lock down, and then we are going to repeat the same process on the opposite side. So once again, and then over here you're going to see the opposite screw, so we'll screw that one in as well. There you have it. It's now attached to the point where it can be lifted up, and it is centrally, and you can see those two laser dots are lined up with that central fin. Now this is where we plug the cable in. I'll hold the box behind so you can see. This is a proprietary cable. It isn't like a USB-C, which is double-ended. It can only go in one way, and what you need to do is plug one side of it in here and make sure that you line up. You can see there it's got a slight curve at the top edge, and it needs to have that curved part facing up, and it will plug into that part there. Give it a bit of a push. It needs some force, and then we'll be plugging it into the top port just here. And once again, you need to make sure you line that connector up. The curved edge is going to be facing this way, so we'll line it up, push it in, and a bit of force. They are quite hard to get in, and there we go. We are now plugged in, ready to go. We have it set up. We're good to go. The last thing to check is just do a full extension both sides. Make sure you've got clearance on both sides so that it's not going to clash anything. We're going to be starting off with this sheet of basswood plywood, and as you can see, when it's positioned on the slide extension, it's a bit too wide. So I thought a good first test would just be a cutting test. So we're going to trim a piece of the edge off so we've got a perfect piece of wood that lines along this. In terms of securing our material, we will be using one of the clamps that comes with it. This is the one I've got today, and it has a piece you can lift up and rotate, and this is basically a clamp that's going to hold down the wood. On this particular one, you can see these two nodules here. These are going to basically line up with the grooves on here. I'll show you that now. So these two bits will line up with these fins here. You can put it wherever you want. I try to have it in a position where it's not going to get in the way. So in this case, I'm going to line it up there. I'm going to slide it along, and you can see it will run in the tracks. Then all we need to do is lift up that piece there, slide it close to the wood. I like to have it overlapping a little bit. Once you've got it it in a position you're happy with, tighten that thumb screw down, and it will then lock it in place, and you've got the first side secured. One other point to note is there is like a little bumper side. If you've got a piece you actually want to butt up against the wood, you can push it and butt it up in that way as well. So there are multiple ways to hold this in place. In this case, I'm just going to do it exactly the same as the other side. So I'm sliding it in, I'm lifting it up, putting it on top of it, and then I'm tightening it down, and we're good to go. Now we have our piece secured. In terms of alignment, there is a ruler down the side. I tend to just try and make sure it's parallel along that ruler. Then it's fairly straight. So when we put a cut down here, which we're about to do, it should be fairly straight. Before we cut it, there's something really important I need to make clear. So with these kind of brackets holding it in place, what it is going to do is potentially clash with your lid if you pull it all the way down. So you need to pull the lid down as close as you can get, but where it will still allow the bed to move along. And because of that, you are going to have light leaking out of this. So make sure you are wearing laser safety glasses, which will comply with the wavelength from a blue diode laser. So we're going to open up xTool Studio. We're going to hit the new project button. It will connect to your F2 if it's the last thing you went on. And this is where things get a bit different. It's going to snapshot the screen like it's a normal item, but this isn't. If we come to the top right up here, you will see there is mode. We want to click on that. And if we do that, you're going to see there are 3 different types of slide extension options. There is use slide extension, which is in the middle. Same design batch processing, which as you can see there, that's replicating the same design across multiple blanks. And then there is different design batch processing. So that's where it's going to take the same blank, but put different objects on them. So we're going to start off with use slide extension. So once you've selected that, it's going to show you a different workspace. This one is much longer. It's very rectangular. So at this point, I am going to select our material. I know that we are using basswood plywood, so I'm going to click apply. Then what we can do is we can do an auto measure. You can also manually do it. In this case though, I am going to auto measure it. It will go up and down and take a reading, and then we're good to go. Once it has completed the auto measure, you'll see it has populated 4.8 millimeters, and we have a picture in the background which represents part of our workspace. That's not helpful to us because we want to see the full object. And the great thing about the F2 is there is a way to do that. If I zoom right in over here and hover, you've got the standard camera there, which is refresh background. I'll show you. If you click that, it will literally just take a picture over the top of the exact thing it's on at the moment, and it will refresh the picture. As you can see there, it hasn't really done a lot. However, if you click on this one, which is panoramic shoot and capture, so we'll click that button, and what it's going to start doing is moving the bed side to side, and it's going to snap a picture of different sections. As you can see on the camera, it's moving it, and before you know it, as you can see right there, you now have the full material on the picture, which is amazing and really, really helpful. So now that we have that, we've got our material selected. I am going to just take a line, and I want to cut the material as close to the edge as I can. So I'm going to hold shift, draw a line. I will make it red so you can see it. And we're going to select cut mode over here on the right. I'm going to go into the one click set, and I'm just going to do 100% power, and I'm going to lower it to 5. So there you go. We're ready to cut that. So let's cut it and see how it does. So as you see, it's done a great cut along it, but I don't know if you noticed, but because these grooves are going along the length of this instead of going towards the fan, a lot of the smoke does gather up and you get pockets of smoke coming up. So you need to make sure you've got really good ventilation. But most importantly, we now have our custom cut piece ready to go. And there you go, look. So we now have a material that is the perfect size for that bed. Let's engrave something onto it. So we're going to put a design onto this now, and I want like a home sweet home style of text. I'm going to get a design from a website called Creative Fabrica, which is what you can see right up there, www.creativefabrica.com. Check out a link in the description. It is an affiliate link, so if you do go for it, it does give me a small percentage. But what I will say is I pay for my own money to use this because I really, really like it. And then most of the designs on here are commercially viable. But make sure you check it out in these areas here where it says if you can or cannot use it. So we're going to find our design. I'm going to click download. So we're using an SVG vector file for this. Then it will download it, and we're going to import that download into xTool Studio. So we are going to move over to the left here and click on that import button, and you'll see the folder that's just downloaded. I believe number 1 is the one I want, which says Home Sweet Home. That looks really good. And because of the rectangular shape, we can pretty much fill out this material. And I'm going to do the cardinal rule here, or break the cardinal rule, and that is I'm going to unlock the aspect ratio up there just so I can drag it, because I want to to fill out this material so we can test it to its extent. I know it obviously distorts it. It's not ideal, but in this case, I am happy for that challenge. So there you go. We've got it in place. So we still have basswood plywood selected. We're going to click, we've got the engrave setting, and I am going to go for a nice toasty char. And I think in this case, I'll try something like 170%. Let's see how that looks. We're going to also delete our cut line. We don't want to do that. So it's as simple as that. We've got our image, we've got our design. We're now going to send it through and we're going to see how well the slide extension manages it. And then afterwards, we're going to update the image and we're going to see how accurate the camera is as well. So before we do send it, I want to explain the framing process to you. So like any design, we should always frame it first. And to do that, we want to click on it. And in this case, I think I want a rectangular frame. So it's going to just show us a box along it just to make sure it's actually in the material. This is always good to do it. So we're going to click that framing button and it's going to be different to normal because what you're going to see is it's saying turn the knob to move the material so that you can see if it's in. So let me go and show you that. I'm hoping this angle is good enough to see. So at the moment, you'll see there is a singular box. If I put my hand under it, you'll see it on there. We turn the knob, which is just here. You'll see that box grows and follows the profile of our material all the way across. And it basically allows us to make sure that our item is framed and that it's square. Because if I zoom in here and show you, you can actually see that that line is parallel with our material, which tells me I have it straight enough. So I'm just going to move it back over. I don't believe you have to reset it into its original position, but as you can see, that is a really intuitive way of framing and it works well. So one thing I want to quickly show you, and I only realized it when I hit that process button, is if I click on preview processing path, you'll see it's going to be doing like loads of random bits at a time, which means it's going to be coming back and forth a lot. It'll probably add a lot of time. That's because sometimes when you import a vector image, you need to create it into a compound vector so that the processor sees it as one solid shape. So we're actually going to click create compound vector, go back into that process, and now what you should see once it loads up is it will naturally follow up and down all the way, which from a movement point of view, the less movement the better. It should ensure an accurate and probably a quicker engraving. So we're going to do that now. We're going to hit that start button and let's do it. Okay, so we've just finished engraving. I'm not sure if you noticed, but I actually did a score around the outside to test the accuracy and it did a really great job. We'll take a look, but the first thing I want to do is refresh that picture and we will see just how accurate the camera is in relation to the actual engraving we've done. Let me change it back to this and we're going to find out now. So looking at it, I can't see our engraving. That's a good sign because that tells me this is perfectly central over it. Ready? We're going to move it. And there you go. That is perfectly positioned. So let's take a look at this. We're going to remove the clips and we're hold it up. So as you can see, it's done a really nice job, and that score around the outside of it just adds a brilliant contrast. And I think that proves just how well you can use this and how much versatility it's got on larger items. I will say though, it was quite slow to engrave. I think it took about 30 to 40 minutes, which is not very fast, but if you're doing nice big pieces, it will still look great and the result is worth the wait. So that's how to use the slide extension for full engraving. Now let's move on to where it really becomes useful, which is batch processing, starting with same design batch processing. We'll be testing out the same design batch settings on the slide extension. I have these wooden dice right here that you can see, and I thought they're quite a unique shape, quite a difficult shape to track. So I have placed them fairly evenly alongside here. One thing I want to explain in advance, if you read the instructions for this, it says to place your first item directly under the laser, manually focus, and that's using the knob there, onto the top surface as I've done, and then you need to place your items to the right hand side of your first object. That is really critical. So you can see I've tried to place them in the same orientation, fairly evenly spaced. We will see how accurate it works, but in theory we are set up. So let's move over to xTool Studio. The next thing we'll be moving on to, as I've just alluded to, is the same design batch processing method right there. So we're going to take the same design design, and as it shows you right there, in theory, it should automatically track the position of the blanks and engrave the same item onto those things. So the way we go about doing that is by selecting it, and we're going to be presented with a square, which is obviously different to the long rectangular workspace it's given us before. And the first thing it is asking us to do is to refresh the background. So we're going to click that button. It should take an updated picture of our item. So at this point, I'm going to clearly say to you that you need to make sure you have a good contrast between your blank, so in this case we've got a wooden dice, and your backing area, that black backing. If you've got a black business card on the black slide extension, it's going to really struggle to pick it up. There is a way we can actually adjust our lighting to adjust that contrast, and I'll show you how to do that. So up here, if you click on the little device settings there, and then click on device settings here, you will be given the option to adjust your front and rear lights. I recommend you do this until you get a nice contrast between your blank and the backing. So I've already adjusted mine to 25 and 25, and I'm quite happy with that. I'm hoping, and I say hoping because it's not guaranteed, that it will be able to pick that shape up and use it. So now that we've done that, what we need to do next is import our design. So I am going to import something that I've got in my section already downloaded, and I think we'll go for a lion with sunglasses. Why not? So there you go. I'm going to position it what looks good to me. But what I will say is we are going to manually frame whatever we put on onto the item first to make sure we're happy with the positioning. We don't rely on pictures, even though in a minute we're going to rely on pictures. So there is our thing. I will turn it red just so you can actually see it. And at this point, it says to set the processing parameters. What I'm going to do is click the framing button, and there I'm going to keep it on outline. Click framing. I'm going to go and check it. I'm not going to show you guys because you guys have been through that already, but I will do that now. So I am happy with the positioning of it. What I will do is update the photo again because I did slightly adjust it. You'll probably see it move slightly. So the next thing we want to do is select our item. And if you don't have a material selected at this point, now is the time to select your material. These are bamboo. So I have xTool's bamboo material selected, and I'm going to use the one-click set, and we can specify in here. I'll go for, I want a lot of power on this. So I'm going to go for 100 power and 300 speed. That should give us a nice outline ratio. So I'll do that, and then we're good. So the next step, so we've imported our design, we've set up our settings, we framed it. That's critical, okay? And we've adjusted our lighting to make sure there's contrast. The next step is to click on your design. And you'll see when you do that, when you don't have it selected, the next button is grayed out. If you do select it, we can now select the next button. Okay, so we've framed it. We're happy with everything. We're going to click that next button now, and it's going to say, are you sure you've selected all your objects? This is where you need to make sure whatever designs you want this to use on this batch processing, they have to be selected. So we're good here. I'm going to confirm it. And it's saying material thickness exceeds 4 millimeters. Its side faces or shadows may be captured or cause inaccurate results. It's basically saying because we have a thick material, the camera might not be as accurate. We're going to accept that, and we're going to move on. Obviously, the flatter your item, the less error you're going to have. This is obviously software. This is relying on pictures. It could all go wrong, but we're going to try it together, and hopefully we'll learn lessons together. So there you can see it's drawn a box around our blank. If you're not happy with what it does automatically, you can adjust it, and you just want to make sure, as the picture shows in the top right, make sure there's a nice clear box, a little bit of clear space around it, so then it can pick up and track the shape of that. I'm happy with that, so I am now going to select next. But before I do, there is another option over here, if I zoom in, called same direction processing. I wasn't sure what this is. It's turned off by default, but as you can see there, it's basically saying if you want to double side a business card with the same orientation, you need to have that selected, okay? So we're not doing that in this case, so I won't select it. So click the process button. It's now going to bring up our processing window, and you're going to see it's going to say it's going to convey the material, it's going to shoot the material, and it's going to recognize the material. So it's doing all the AI stuff in the background now. So once we're happy with that, it's going to show us a picture at the top right. And what I will say is it's given me a bit of a warning message saying the smart fill may be unsatisfying due to unfavorable ambient light. That's what I said about adjusting your lighting. I'm happy to go with it and see what happens. It won't give you a time, but it is now ready to go, and we're going to click that start button, and we're going to move over, and it should automatically move from one item to the next. If it can't detect its item, it will stop, and then we'll get a prompt on the screen. So let's see if we manage to get through the whole thing. So as you can see on the screen, it's showing a little notepad saying it's ready. With your cover here, lower it to an area you're happy with, and like I said, blue light will come out, so wear your safety glasses. So let's take a look at these results. As you can see, the first one is okay. The next 4, it's done 3 of them in pretty good position. One of them though is rotated 90 degrees. I'm not sure why it's done that, but it has. Then we move on to the final 4, and as you can see with this one here, it has done it to the left side. That might be because if you look at where the base plate is, it seems to move in thirds. So I'm guessing there is an optimum way to place these, because that one there and the one behind it, they're not central, and it looks like it's probably at the limits of where the laser can actually get. Those ones are okay. Obviously this one is upside down and a little bit off. Overall though, it did exactly what it should have, and that is it has engraved 9 items along the length of it. But I think the answer for this is maybe a jig or something, so that you can work out, because when it moves it steps in exact amounts, so we need to try and work that out. But let's move on to the next processing mode, which is different image on same item. So before we do move on, I just want to show you this screen that does pop up when you're finished. It says please remove the process materials from the slide extension and place new materials. So in theory you can do that limit, you can literally keep putting new items on, click continue, and it should keep processing the same design across those items. In this case though, I am not going to do that. I'm going to click cancel because I want to stop doing that, and then I'm going to click cancel again, and it should take us back to our finished screen. So once you're comfortable with that workflow, the next step up is different design batch processing. This works in a very similar way, but instead of repeating the same design, you can actually change the design for each item using variable data, which is really useful for things like personalized products. So in theory, we can add variable data and engrave in a batch process a different thing onto each of these designs. I'm quite excited to try this one because I don't know how well it's going to work, but I have positioned 6 of them along the workspace. Let's take a look and let's see how it performs. Okay, so we've done our same design batch. We're moving on now, and I want to show you the transition from the workspace to the processing mode, because it will ask you to do certain things. At the moment, we're still seeing the old image. We don't have any designs on the workspace. So what we're going to do is click on mode again, and this time we're going for different design batch processing. This is the 3rd mode for this extension slide. Once you click it, you are going to get given this window here, and if you don't have a design on your workspace, then you'll probably see that you can't click next or do anything. Don't panic. What you need to do is click close, and we're going to follow the steps. If you do have a design, it will recognize your design, and you'll see in a second. We'll get back to that point, and then you can follow that step. So first thing we need to do is update our picture. I have focused onto these new items manually, so the focus is correct. And what you'll see is in this case, it's a little bit dark. It's too dark for my liking. So I'm going to go back into those settings I showed you a minute ago, and I'm probably going to put it back to like 60% on both lights. Then we're going to update the photo, and it should now look a lot brighter. There you go. I'm hoping that will be good enough for the camera. So for this one, I'm actually going to be doing different star signs, or I'm going to try different star signs. So I'm back on Creative Fabrica, and I'm going to go for something simple like this. So I've searched for star signs SVG, and as you can see, we've got some simple but nice star signs. So I'm going to download them. Let's import them in and try and get this working. So we are going to put our first design on, and I'm going to use my star sign in this case, which is Virgo. We're going to just position it, and I'm going to try and fill it out nicely. It might slow this example down in terms of engraving time, but let's make a usable product here. So we're going to put my design on there, and now what you'll see is we have our design position, but there's one more step here, because when you import vector files into xTool Studio, it doesn't always come in as a compound vector. So this system might recognize it as 2 separate types of shapes. So we are at the top here going to select create compound vector, which will turn it into one vector image. And that leads us on to our next stage, which is setting our materials. So I am going to select 300 speed, 100 power from the quick set menu. And now what we can do is select our image, and over here underneath material, you are going to see set variable. Click on that and it will take you back to the screen it showed us at the beginning. So if you already had your design, this is the section you need to move on from. You can specify alignment and how you want it to fit. If you want it to fit to the height, the width. We're on a circle shape here, so I am going to specify it on exactly what it's on. So select your design. If you've got text here, it will see it as a text file. Click next, and then you can see what we've got now. If I zoom in, we've got this manual input table. You can actually import spreadsheets with variable data. So if you have serial numbers and stuff like that, you can do that. And if you want to do that, then that's totally up to you. I'm not doing that in this case. I am going to manually add in these vector images. And the way you do that is add however many you want. So we've got 6 on our side. Then just click that drop down menu, select replace vector, and let's add our next one. So there you go, we've got Taurus. We're going to change that one to Scorpio. We're going to change this one to the next one. So we'll do this for every single one. The reason they're looking black is obviously we changed the layer of the first one to red. And finally, Aries. So there you go, we now have 6 individual designs we have specified here. That is perfect for what we need. So we're going to click confirm. The rest of the designs are going to go, but one thing to note is there is a little VAR on your image. That means variable data. So don't worry that you can't see the rest. The system knows that they are there. So now the next scene is going to be very familiar to you. It's what we've pretty much just done. So we're going to select our design. Obviously, at this point, just to confirm, frame your design. So make sure your design's focused first. Make sure you've framed your designs. Make sure you are happy with the positioning of your items. Then move on to this next step. So once again, it's saying the material's thicker than 4mm, so it may be inaccurate. That's fine. We did that on the last one. We're not worried about that. We're going to click the next button and it is going to take us. It's going to try and recognize this. So I'm interested to see how this goes because this is a circular shape. Our design is rectangular, so it may be that it tries to fill into our space and cuts off some. If it is, then we'll learn the lesson together. If it doesn't, then it's all good. So we're going to click process. It's then going to do the next stage, which is setting everything up. It's going to convey the material, so it's going to move the actual conveyor belt back and forth. It's going to try and shoot it so it can detect it, and now it's going to recognize it. Once it's done all of that, then we are ready to process our parts. At this point, I'm bringing you back because you saw that it actually missed a couple of them off, and it's now saying please remove processed material from the slide extension and place new materials. So it didn't automatically pick up items, so in its eyes there are still 3 things left to engrave. I am going to try and do this. I'm going to try and remove the other ones and see what happens. So as I said, it only did 3 there, so it did these 3 here. They look good, but what I'm actually going to try and do, as it's instructed me to, is I'm going to just place the other items back over there, and I'm going to click continue and we're going to see what happens. So as you saw, I've positioned them. I'm going to click the continue button. It's probably going to try and figure out where they all are again. Let's see if it works. So that was quite interesting because as you saw, it had difficulty finding all of them. And this last one, I tried to do it a number of times. And because of the position it is on the slide, it feels like the slide extension moves in increments. And if it's not in the right position within the increment it's taking the picture, it just doesn't see it. And I tried it a few times, couldn't do it. It did work overall, just a little bit temperamental, and it will take practice to nail this one down, I think. Now, before I wrap this up, there are a few important things you need to be aware of when using the slide extension. First is speed. Because you're working across a much larger area, it's naturally going to be slower than standard engraving, especially on the base machine. In my case, that full length engraving you saw took around 30 minutes using the default settings from the Material Studio. That's not necessarily a flaw, it's just the trade-off for being able to work on much larger pieces. Second is the airflow and smoke extraction, because on the fin design, on the bed, the smoke can actually travel along the channels rather than going straight into the extraction. So when you're cutting or engraving things like wood, you can get smoke escaping out of the sides instead of being fully extracted. Third is the footprint. This setup takes a decent amount of space, so you need to make sure you've got enough room on your desk to actually use it properly. And finally, something I noticed during batch processing, from my experience, the machine doesn't seem to scan continuously across the full length. It looks like it scans in 3 sections, so if your items are positioned between those 2 sections, it may not detect them properly. What I found worked best was actually placing the items within the visible scan areas, which you can identify by watching how the machine moves during the preview. That's not officially documented, but it's something I discovered through my own testing, and it made a big difference to reliability. Now, the good news is, once you understand how it works, there are a few simple things you can do to get much better results and avoid most of those issues. Now, based on everything I've tested, here are a few tips that will help you get the best results. First, always secure your material properly because the slide extension is physically moving the material. Any small shift can affect alignment, especially on longer jobs. Second, take full advantage of the framing feature. Use that knob to check that entire length of your design, not just the starting point. It's one of the easiest ways to avoid mistakes. Third, be mindful of your placement during batch processing. Even though it looks like you can place your items anywhere, in practice, positioning them within the machine's detection zones gives you much more consistent result. And finally, lighting matters. There isn't enough contrast between your material and the bed. The camera can struggle to detect the shapes properly, so adjusting lighting can make a big difference. So overall, the slide extension is a really useful accessory, but it's definitely one of those tools where understanding how it actually works makes a huge difference. For me, the biggest value comes from batch processing and being able to scale up production rather than just extending that workspace. Once you understand the quirks and how to position things properly, it becomes a lot more reliable and a lot more useful. If you found this video helpful, make sure to subscribe because I've got loads more tutorials, tips, and project videos coming that are all focused on helping you get the most out of your machine. If you're interested in any of our jigs or accessories I use, you can check out my website. All the links are in the description. And if you're looking to pick up the slide extension or any xTool machine or accessories, you can support the channel by using my affiliate links down below. And finally, a big thank you to all my L3D YouTube members for supporting the channel. It genuinely makes a huge difference. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.